Mikey Newcastle says, so, the government want us to consume less meat and dairy, but with the rapid spread of wind and solar farms, there will be nowhere to raise cattle anyway. Well, there is that problem, isn't there? And you do get a sense, don't you, Rakib, about all of this kind of government nudge unit type stuff, that, you know, they don't care about animals. They don't care about people's right to eat animals. They would rather you didn't eat them. They would rather basically that farms didn't exist because they don't know anything about them. You know, you don't see any farms in Westminster. The Westminster bubble types have no clue. They go out to the country and occasionally go, God, it smells a bit funny out here. What's all that about?
Well, I mean, if you want to take, if they want to take the country in this kind of direction, what are they looking to do now? Decimate the food and drink industry as well?
Well, maybe. They're trying to do that in hospitality. Now, let's talk about Sadiq Khan, because a story broke yesterday, late afternoon. I spoke to Jeremy Kyle about it on his show, that Sadiq had a secret plan to charge drivers to pay per mile. We've always known that this is where they're going to go next, you know, because they've had the ULEZ charge, the super ULEZ charge, they've got the congestion charge. They've found a new way to charge us, and that is to charge 2p per mile for people to drive, £2 per mile, sorry, to drive in London, which would have meant that a lot of people would have been paying upwards of 35, 40 quid just to come and spend time in London during the day.
No, absolutely, and I think that what it really shows is that the Mayor of London's eco-radicalism is in full flow.
Incredible.
I think it really is, and I think that actually he has no consideration for working-class tradesmen, for example, who have to come into London and do their work.
And who drive a van because they have to carry a load of stuff
because they have the very heavy equipment and tools. But he doesn't seem to care very much.
He doesn't seem to care, does he? In fact, I was looking at his Twitter this morning and a couple of things came to mind. One is this. Time magazine apparently have done their 100 climate influential leaders, right? And he's managed to make it into that list. So he goes, I'm honoured to be on the Time 100 climate list as mayor of one of the greenest cities in the world. I'll keep working to make London a greener, fairer and safer city for everyone. Well, it's not safer than it used to be.
Safer, he's struggling.
It's not fairer than it used to be, and it's not actually greener than it used to be, because there's so much congestion that cars are sitting on roads pumping out, you know, carbon monoxide into the atmosphere, because you can't go anywhere because there's so many cycle lanes and so little room for cars.
No, absolutely, and I think that if he wants to talk about safer, I still think that he's seriously struggled in terms of tackling...
London is a far less safe city now than it's ever been.
No two ways about it. And it was a point that I made previously, Mike, that if he doesn't sort out these kind of issues, and it's very unlikely that he will, then tourism will be hit as a result of that.
Will.
There's no two ways about it.
I know that there are certainly plenty of wealthy people who don't come here anymore, because certainly from the Middle East, people would come here, say, during the summer months because it's cooler, you know, don't want to stay in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or in Saudi Arabia. But they've all started now going to different cities because they fear coming to London will mean they get their Rolexes nicked off them, they'll get their cars stolen, you know, they'll get assaulted in the street, and they're not coming for that very reason.
And I think
you might say, well, who cares? You know, we don't need them here anyway. Well, actually, we do.
No, we do, and I think that we should welcome foreign direct investment into London, and we don't want that to be jeopardised. There's also been reports that wealthy Indian businessmen have also made that point, that they're a bit hesitant to visit London and invest in it because they're worried about the levels of crime in our capital.
Yeah, absolutely right. Off to the side of that, by the way, looking at Sadiq Khan's Twitter, the Christmas market on London's famous Trafalgar Square is now open. And then he says, a bit further down, the Covent Garden Christmas tree has been lifted into place ahead of the lights being switched on later on tonight. And that was yesterday. So they're lighting the Christmas tree. They're selling Christmas trees now in shops already. And the Christmas market's open. You know, this message timed on November the 13th.
Yeah, you feel it's a bit too premature.
It's way too early. I mean, I don't mind them doing it in December. You know, in America, when I used to live in America, there was a proper sort of demarcation line called Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is like on the third Thursday of every November, right? So after Thanksgiving, then you can go, all right, let's go for Christmas, because there's only a month to go. Fine. But it's like 6 weeks away, isn't it?
Mike, there's a great deal of doom and gloom flying around. I think a prolonged period of festive cheer.
No, it's too soon. I don't want it. No, I mean, Christmas should be it's a bit like Guy Fawkes, right? I've been saying, I was moaning about that earlier on, because it starts now at the beginning of October, goes all the way through October, all the way through November.
Okay, Mike, we've been talking about meat and dairy. What do you like having on Christmas Day?
On Christmas Day, do you know, I'm quite keen on a roast beef.
Roast beef.
Rather than a turkey. I'm not a massive turkey fan.
No, I find it a bit too dry.
Yeah. And this year, for the first time, I'm going to be not spending it at home. I'm going to be spending it in a hotel. Which
nice.
We've just decided to do just because it's a different thing to do. So, I mean, that'll be different.
Favourite dessert?
Do you know what? We did a story yesterday where people are no longer eating Christmas pudding, and apparently the reason is that they haven't got enough room left for it. And
really?
Quite often that's the case. I don't mind a bit of Christmas pudding. I'm quite a big fan of mince pies. Mince pies and fresh cream.
I'm big on trifle.
Trifle's
I think trifle's a big thing for me. So I think one thing I encourage people to enjoy Christmas Day and do not listen to the instructions of the Labour government when it comes to...
No, you certainly don't want to do that. But I don't want them lighting Christmas trees in the middle of November. Sorry, it's just too soon.
We'll have to disagree on that, Mike. We'll have to disagree.
Have you got a tree? Have you got a tree up in your house?
Not at the moment, but
when
it'll be coming soon.
All right, so when will you put your tree up?
Traditionally, we start... OK, this might support your point.
Yeah.
Traditionally, at the beginning of December.
There you go. See, that's fair enough. Because, you know, one of my kids the other week was like, why don't we put the Christmas tree up? And his mother was going, no, it's too soon. It is too soon. It's not, this is not the time to do it. You know, we're still in the sort of the beginnings of autumn. We're not quite into winter yet.
We're definitely in winter, Mike.
No, no, we're not. No, apparently November is still autumn, right? People will disagree with you on that. But yeah, absolutely unbelievable stuff. Let's talk about Kemi Badenoch, because she got a bit of a bounce yesterday in the polls, didn't she? First sort of poll that's been done since she became the leader. She's going to be up today at PMQs. I think Keir Starmer's frightened of her.
I think so. I think that she started very solidly as the new Tory leader. I think that one thing I'll say is that some of the cabinet appointments could have been better.
Yes.
I think some of them were a little bit suspect.
I had a rather embarrassing interview with Nigel Huddleston, who's now the co-chair of the party, just before the American election last week. I think it must have been last Tuesday, actually. And I said, you know, do you think Donald Trump would be good for Britain? Oh, I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to, you know. I'm like, well, this is your opportunity to actually now put your marker down and say, actually, yeah, we'd like to see Donald Trump winning. And then when he did win, you could have gone, see, now we're the party of common sense, because we've actually said Donald Trump is the guy for us.
I'd make this point. I think that we talk a great deal about soft power in foreign policy. I think that in President-elect Trump, there's someone there who's instinctively pro-British. He has a natural affection for the royal family, and I think we should make the most of that. And I think it's very surprising that you'd have prominent figures in the Conservative Party being so hesitant.
I know, but they're all afflicted by the same problem. They're frightened to have an opinion because they're scared that something bad will happen, that there'll be some kind of backlash against what they've actually said, which is nonsense. You know, the reason people like politicians, if they like them, is because of the way that they come out and say things. You know, the reason Boris Johnson was always popular was because he always said what he thought. You know, and Kemi Badenoch actually is in the same mould.
I think so. I think that she's a bit of a straight talker.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about that, and I think that positions her well, actually.
Yeah. I think so. A couple of quick tweets for you. One here from Jackie says, morning, Mike. Just tuned into your unmissable show. Woke up to the news that Alison Pearson from the Telegraph has had a visit from the Plod from a year-old tweet. What is happening to our country? And then Stuart says, morning, Mike. Where are the Metropolitan Police when it comes to the hateful speech regarding President Trump and when it comes to Starmer, Lammy, Rayner, etc.? It's a good point. You know, are they going to visit David Lammy for being horrible about Donald Trump and possibly creating some kind of, you know, racial tension? No, of course they're not.
I think the one thing I'll say is that with UK-US relations, the role of the UK Foreign Secretary is very important. Yeah. And I think that some of David Lammy's past statements have been far from ideal, put it that way. And I think that
very provocative. And not only his statements, let's not forget that when Donald Trump came to visit this country as President of the United States of America, David Lammy was out on the streets with a microphone demonstrating, saying he shouldn't be here. Why have we got this man coming to our country?
No, absolutely. And I can only hope that the Foreign
Secretary... Standing underneath Sadiq Khan's inflatable pig.
And I think that now he is Foreign Secretary, I hope that he realises the very real responsibilities that come with that and he adopts a more constructive approach.
Well, you'd like to think so. But the trouble is with Lammy, he's not too bright, is he? Don't forget, this is a guy who appeared on Mastermind once and got every question wrong, apart from the ones he passed on. In question, David Lammy, who succeeded Henry VIII? He said Henry VII. I mean, hard to believe. Rakib, good to see you.
No, thank you for having me.
Thanks very much indeed.